Up next is a personal friend of mine. Now, I have known George for about 20 years, 20, 25, longer than we care to admit. George has always been a friend, he has been a confidant, and this year he became my hero, because while other people sat around and watched this flood on television, George got out there and got his hands dirty. Some of the things I've heard him do, he helped shovel sandbags, he helped move sandbags, he distributed water, he did whatever was asked of him. And in my estimation, that makes him a hero. And I wanted to celebrate him, and we wanted to celebrate the work that he did and the kind of person that he is today. So ladies and gentlemen, George DeBruin.
I still don't know that I would call myself a hero. And that's just, not something that I would. I selected about 4 of Paul Engle's most seasonal poems, so I'll go ahead and read these. First one's called Bark and Ice. Now does the valley river freeze in the earthen funnel, the weary swallow waits deep in the windproof tunnel. No more narrow fish leap for the same fly twice. Cold in blood they swim beneath the iron ice. Boring under bark in the frost mouth their burrow, grub and worm remain to crawl with the fertile furrow. Being but human, we must hold and carry and crying bear, held together in the hollow cave of air. This next piece that I'm going to read is called 20 Below. And anybody's noticed how cold it is today? Well, it's probably more appropriate right there. 20 below, I said, and closed the door. A drop of 5 degrees and going down. It makes a taunted drum height of the floor. Brittle as leaves floating in the town. I wonder what would happen to us here if that hard wind of winter never stopped. No man again could watch the night grow clear, the blue thermometer forever dropped. I hope, you answered, for so cruel a storm, to freeze remoteness from our lives too cold. Then we could learn, huddled all close, how warm the hearts of men who live alone too much, and once before our death admit the old need of a human nearness, need of touch. This next poem is called A Shared Thing. This is a shared thing done by separate selves together. Natural as autumn crop, from light and land and weather. You with stoical fear, I with solitary patience, both become harvest-wise and wary. As two with heart and hope make strongly as they can, the definite proud thing out of the abstract plan. We wait with new, lived self, to watch, touch, and be near it, to stare with animal eyes at an embodied spirit.
Thank you for the invitation. This was really great, and I've got some pictures of some real volunteers I want to show you here, some real heroes in my book. So I brought visuals, which is kind of cool. But if you're familiar with the orange shirts and all the different colors, I want to talk about that a little bit. But Ron had picked out a poem that he said, "Hey, if you can find some pieces of this that you'd like to read, we'd really appreciate that to honor Paul Engle." So I did find some of it. I hope it's not too much. I'll do the best I can. But in Coming Home, Paul Engle writes of the holiday trimmings during the Christmas season, but more importantly of the true meaning of Christmas. He also talks of the importance of home as it relates to this very special time of year. And he says that while some holidays are for the church, Easter, for example, celebrated with ecstatic music and rectangular agony of the cross, Christmas is the intense family celebration. Christmas, he says, like birthdays, is glorified above all in the home. And so these are his words. The deepest search of the human life is the constant and strenuous effort to find a place where one can be at home. In this century, when the formidable threat of the mass may replace the close unit of the family with the massive unit of abstract society, the home has an intolerably greater importance. It was Christ's glorious and bloody destiny to find his home only in death. It is the fortunate and nourishing destiny of men and women to find an intimate home here on the harried earth. Years before he walks away from the home in which he took his first faltering step over a floor that seemed waiting to leap up and strike him, the child learns that in the rooms of the place where he lives, there are assurance and trust. At the level of his exploring eyes, there are the legs of the chair and table, even of adults and older children, to which he can cling when miniature knees wobble. Above all, when he does reel and collapse with the indignity of bumps, bruises, and tears, there is a hand to help and a voice to comfort. Toys are there on the floor of the home, too. Bear and elephant, the picture book, and the squeaking box. The child life roams in the cheerful wilderness of household menace and love. I love that line. The child life roams in the cheerful wilderness of household menace and love. Gradually, the child finds that there is an immense world beyond the reach of his hands or even his eyes. This world is in the other rooms, the enchanting places of huge beds where adults sleep like a race of giants, which has come to protect the real people, the children, and not to destroy them. Of course, now and then the adults do seem to threaten, but unaccountably, after the punishment for some troubled act has been given and the child reduced to fright and wailing, always the devoted arms come and the child is wonderfully back in its own true home, the magical, narrow space between arm and breast. There is that mysterious room where the nose and the tongue are excited, the kitchen. Really Here the child moves from having his hand slapped as he reaches to grasp a knife, to having his hand reached for and held a moment while the savory sweetness of a broken cookie is put in it. In this room, the child's senses are alive, and for it is the one room in the house where touch, taste, sight, sound, smell are all fulfilled. Most of all, Christmas heightens every awareness of the child as home becomes filled with more light, more odors to tease the nose, more gifts for the eager hand to caress. Then the child is old enough to venture outdoors, perhaps even down the street where live other children, about whom only an uncertain curiosity exists. There may be dogs there, friendly with the head to be scratched, or hostile with the head showing its tearing teeth. Always, when pursuing the brave adventure of the next city block, or the new stretch of country road ahead, the child can look back and know that there is one fixed absolute waiting in assurance behind it, home. A pillar of cloud lay a pillar of cloud by day and of fire by night, home stands there. The child runs to it in terror or delight, pursued of angry children or outraged dogs, or only by the illusion of evil seeming to sniff the ground where the child's feet had stepped. In a few years, the child is only part a child and has gone out into the semi-exile of the adult world, where strangers prowl the uneasy streets and glare from the windows with their sinister curtains. Here the child discovers one of the vast shattered truths about human life, that these other people, far from being themselves hard and secure, are like the new one has come to move among them. They too are still in part children, making their successes and failures, their whole lives and their half-lives, but always a little homesick for the plain room of their childhood, in whose air hung the most glittering ornament of all, the knowledge that a cry would bring comfort. From this he gains disillusion, for he knows that wherever his life may take him, no fine triumph and no harsh defeat will ever remove from his mind the awareness of that original place where he learned to become alive. The satellites glide overhead, glow through the sky like rapid tiny moons, but the most startling illumination in our lives will always be the lighted window behind which we know, and we know it with desperate, earned conviction. There awaits the parent who now, having yearned for the infrequent letter or the remote telephone call, now endures the final moments before we open that door and go into the room, into the love, into home. No other door of our lives ever